Welcome back, fellow enemies of the fire. We are here yet again with the top 5 worst rules in soccer. We actually, if you're hearing this, you most likely heard the top 5 best rules in soccer.
And if you haven't, go check it out. It was great. We have a lot of fun.
James has compiled
with
this
these
list for us, which thank you, James, for compiling the list. And
I've been having a lot of fun with these top 5s, and I think we as a podcast have been having a lot of fun discussing these top 5s and these tier lists. So expect a few more of them from time to time.
Was definitely fun, for sure.
Go check that one out. The Chicago Fire top 10 manager tier list. Did that a couple weeks ago on here on Enemies of the Fire.
Yeah, and trust me, it was a list. It did exist. And so, just to let you know, I've yet to see this list, but myself and DPG, who is not here to speak for himself, both have put our stamp of approval on this list.
Talk about teammates having your back. Caitlin Clark's teammates could take a memo here. The top could take a memo, absolutely, about teammates. The top 5 worst rules in soccer. We're going to start with number 5. Number 5, and it might be number 1 for some. I mean, I said this about the last time with the top 5. That's the thing with these rules. They are interchangeable. But for us, number 5, interpretation of the advantage rule. What is going on there half the time? It's like the referee is making it up in his head. He's like, he heard the word advantage and he's like, oh, that must be what it is. No, there's an actual rule to the advantage rule, and it sometimes seems like the referee is not taking into the terms of applying the law. They're interpreting their fictitious imaginary version of advantage rule half the time.
I have yet to really encounter a time where I've been that upset about advantage given or not.
You forget about it. I think you forget about it because there's times where the referee calls a foul back and you're like, what was that?
You know,
it happens so fast and they're already taking the free kick and the game's moved on, but it happens more often than we realize.
I think they should give plays a little bit longer to play out to see how well the advantage goes, because sometimes it looks clear and obvious and somebody makes a play instantly. It's like, well, they didn't get anything, or vice versa. Like they totally stop a goal scoring opportunity. Now, this is one of those that's a strictly, interpretation. This is a Supreme Court style fucking ruling. Like
literally in the language of the rule.
I don't know what it is, but I know it when I see it, right?
Yeah.
So this is where I go back to the point of why I like VAR so much is you got one guy who's trying to watch 22 others. I know you got 2 linesmen and a 4th official, but I mean, this one guy in the center is doing a lot of heavy lifting. So you're asking him to spot and see and call the foul while also seeing the runs the offensive players are making.
And have the chance to potentially still score and has to all calculate that into some sort of voodoo math.
Yeah, exactly. I say personally, a normalized calling a play back that was an advantage that doesn't play out. I normalize that.
Some people would say get rid of advantage entirely and just call the foul immediately.
Oh no! They call it the beautiful game for a reason, James. It's poetry in motion. Those people hate fun.
And to me, it goes in. That's where hockey and soccer do align. In hockey, they don't call the penalty right away. In fact, they raise their arm. They raise their arm until the offending team touches the ball, and then they'll blow. But the offensive team gets an offensive advantage the entire time the penalty is called, and they get an extra man because they get to pull the goalkeeper, because as soon as the other team touches the puck anyway, the play is frozen. How about something like that? Where...
Well, no, because then you're still doubly punished because you give advantage, and then if what
as soon as you give the ball, if the ball's given away, then you could call it.
Yeah, but then, I feel like you're getting doubly punished. You wouldn't need the advantage rule, right? I think it's only an advantage in hockey. Well, actually, you kind of get doubly punished. It's only, it's an advantage in hockey because you have sin bins.
It's a double punishment in hockey there as the same. You're just you're starting to pay the price of the penalty ahead of time.
You know what? I'm not a fan of that.
It's interesting. It's an interesting little thought process what's going on in hockey and between soccer. Rule number 4, we'll move on. Persistent fouling, and this is what I was talking about for saving your little sin bin comment. persistent fouling without adequate punishment. That is one of the worst 5 rules in soccer, because how do you fix this? The players that are persistent foulers, and you can't just give them 2 yellows, because a second yellow quickly morphs into a red, and that seems like too much punishment. Where is the happy medium for these persistent foulers?
Because persistent, like you to keep it a game and not a wrestling match, you have to make a true punishment for fouling persistently. And the thing is, there's a way to do it. There's a way to commit a lot of fouls where you're just being aggressive, and they're not nasty tackles. They're all over the field, not one spot. You're not actively stopping goal scoring movements.
But you do enough of those and you get a yellow card just for making defensive plays? That seems a little...
Well, but no, that's not true, because if you're really clattering in there, then
and you are in our instance, you are clattering in there. I mean, you might not be forceful, but it's adding up, and everybody's adding it up.
See, I don't think there's a magic number either.
Right.
I don't think it's like, 4 fouls.
It's a feeling. It's a feeling thing, but that's kind of a problem. Like, because there's no consistency to the punishment, and then the referees don't have a consistency from game to game, so it becomes harder for both the players and the referees to figure this out.
I would have to talk to more current players to see how they feel about this, but personally, I feel that allows you to have different styles.
Yeah,
that allows a guy who can use his feet know that, like, they can hack a shack for a minute. But after a while, they're going to have to stand up. They're going to have to stand up to me, So like, or you can be an aggressive player and know, like, okay, I've committed some fouls, and then boom, okay, I got that yellow. Now I know where I need to be, where I need to sit.
But then you got to play in the next 45 minutes, like in this weird zone where you got to play more conservative, but yet still just as aggressive. It puts you in an odd place as a player, which is great for the play. It's entertaining.
Well, but in basketball, you get, what, 5 or 6 fouls? I can't remember.
6 fouls in the pros.
Okay, so you get 6 fouls. So once you get 3 fouls in the second quarter, guess what? You don't play till the next half.
You got to sit.
So it's the same difference, man. Like, or if you're Michael Jordan and you're playing on 3 fouls, you have to be
you just said it. You just brought in my point. More subs, hockey style subs, basketball style subs. Lineups. That way, your guy gets a card. You could take him out. You could sit him for 20 minutes, and you could let him get, that anger out of him, and then put him back in after he's calmed down a little bit.
That's the American sports fan in you, with all these like second chances and shit. Soccer's not about second chances. Soccer's about.
Soccer's a second chance sport. Second chances. It's all about second, third, fourth, fifth chance. But that's every sport. Every sport's about the second, third, fourth, fifth chances. Those are the champions who put them away. It's true.
All right. What's the next one?
The number 3 worst rule in soccer: time wasting and stoppage time.
In what way? In what way?
Time wasting and stoppage time. In the way that it can just become too much. All of a sudden, you have a 12-minute game of a tie that you just want over. This game is not going. You don't care who wins. This game was a draw. Now I'm playing devil's advocate a little hit here. If you guys watched the first one, if you guys watched the top 5 rules,
I am all about.
By the way, these were pulled. I pulled the internet, and these were the answers I got.
No way.
That's how I got. How I came to these. So this is player consensus across the internet in a international setting.
I personally believe. The Iraq. No. I'm sorry. No, personally, I love 8-10 minutes because that's how much effing time was lost. Play the full game, and yes. You don't have to play every second of 90 minutes or else you'd stop the clock, right? I'm with that. But honestly, dude, if you have big injuries and a lot of time wasting and 5 goals in the game, you got to give back that 6-7 minutes.
Well, that's the other thing. This time wasting seems so stupid now. Why are you wasting time? You're actually just killing your team now.
Exactly. And that's exactly why, because time wasting was the worst thing in football. soccer,
and
football.
So maybe the new current rules have done a little bit to maybe mitigate this a little bit better.
Yeah, so maybe your list is flawed. I seem to love all of this.
Yeah, that's what's so fun about this. I mean, this is what I was given. The number 2 worst rule in soccer is the offside rule, especially with VAR. That's what they were saying. They're saying the offside rule is the worst by, and I said that must be strikers, because strikers just they hate being called for offside, and in their world they think if there was no offside, they would just have chances all day. It would be a totally different game, as we discussed in that first segment.
Yeah, it would be a whole different game.
So I do disagree with this worst rule, but I have to play devil's advocate and try and figure out what is bad with it. Well, it stopped scoring.
I love the existence of the offside rule.
Right.
The way I have been preaching this for a while. The way I wish it was called is the by the feet. So as long who's ever, like, your feet have to be behind the furthest back foot.
Both feet or one foot?
No, just one. You have to be.
So college football rules.
Yeah, so the defender has to have one toe in front of you at least. And who cares about the arms? You could have your whole half body in front of him, but your stride is further back, and you're onside. I think it should be only look at the feet. The body, the arms, who cares about any of that? Just your feet. That's how I would fix offside.
How would you guys fix
100%.
offside in the comments? Because according to this, offside with VAR is one of the current rules. They must be talking to people in England. I'm sitting with you. We don't necessarily agree with this, but this is what was presented to me, and that was the winning answer for number 2. The number one most hated rule in soccer is the handball rule.
What?
Is that not wild? The handball rule.
Well, wait. What do they mean? Like handball in the box?
I think it's when that goes against them. People.
Oh, I guess. Okay, I guess the natural position.
The interpretation of it. When people think in interpretations that play rather than a actual direct rule, it is a direct rule, but people think that
right. We don't people carrying the ball, but they're upset about how it's called.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's what it comes down to. People get upset about how it's called and how it influences the games.
I've always liked the whole. I feel like they don't do it anymore. I feel like it got patched out of the game. But
there have not been so many penalty kicks for handballs as there were 10, 15, 20 years ago. It feels like there's less.
Well, there used to be a rule where, like, if you had, like, if it was a split-second thing and the guy kicked the ball and your hand was, like, this far from his foot and it hit your hand, like, that wouldn't count because it was just such bang, proximity.
That's a part of the soccer rule, yeah, that because of, it has to do with intention.
I thought they got rid of that. I thought it was just completely if they're not in a natural position. I think we need to redefine exactly what a natural position is on a handball, because you cannot jump with your arms directly to your side, right? Like, that's the problem. You're jumping and they're like this, then they can't be all the way up here like I'm doing, but, like, you shouldn't, I don't know.
So what you were talking about, that they did change the handball rule, and this is the adjustment that they made. You can't deliberately touch the ball with your hand, of course, and you can't move your hand or your arm towards the ball. So, right? You're moving your hand like this. The other thing that was the key part of the rule that they've added was to make your body unnaturally bigger by positioning your hand or your arm in a way that wasn't a result of the body movement. So those moments where you're putting up your body to defend yourself, you're making yourself unnaturally bigger by positioning your hand or your arm in a certain way, and that is a handball.
Well, I know it's kind of a nightmare in American football where you're talking about holding and you have to hold, like, you can hold the guy, but it's got to be in between his shoulders, right?
Oh, I thought you were going to say it's a nightmare for us guys with glasses because we got to protect our face from the ball.
But like it's all about, like, it's like legal, not legal, right? Just these minor tweaks of where your hand is.
Right.
So I almost feel like if your hands are within your body's silhouette.
Well, that's why you see guys put their arms behind them a lot too when they go to tackle,
exactly.
to try and remove that penalty.
But I feel like if you went like this and it hit your hands, I really feel like that shouldn't be a handball unless you like volleyball hit it, right? But if they're within your silhouette, I don't see a reason why.
So,
I don't know, man. I really feel like there's gotta I guess this illuminates the fact that something has to be figured out, because my biggest issue, because yes, I like that if you're making yourself bigger, that's a problem. I just feel like when you jump, it's humanly impossible to get any bit of a jump without your arms rising away from your side.
and it's human to protect your face from
That too.
from a blistering paste object flying at it.
Well, again, to my idea of if you like legalize within your silhouette, you could cover your face.
That's interesting. Yeah. That makes sense to me, the idea of the silhouette.
But that's just me throwing out ideas, because that would be hard to
lies
police.
what they're talking about with, even in your silhouette, you could make yourself unnaturally bigger by unnatural placements.
If your elbows are out, that's a handball,
and you're naturally already in that position, right?
And I do like how they've kind of gotten more chill about more like the sleeve area. If it's like hitting up here, you can kind of trap it, as opposed to it bounced up and hit my shoulder. Well, it's a handball.
I think that this, when you put your arm into it, I think that's a handball now, right?
That's still considered a hit. Well, I mean, I don't know.
Well,
I think guys get away with it because it's close enough to
according to the rule, when you do this and you move your arm towards the ball, that is a handball. Moves their hand or arm towards the ball. So that is actually a handball. They have to chest it.
Or I feel like they've been more chill about that, though.
It depends. They do seem to be a little bit more chill in that. It feels like they're calling less penalty kicks for handballs.
They are. I mean, yeah. We got spoiled with that whole ball to hand versus handball thing back in the day, and they've kind of threw that away. But anyway, what was this number one?
That was number one.
Wow. That's kind of wild. And, it makes sense because it's been the most deep conversation we've had.
Yeah, absolutely. And I thought that was wild, too. It really was. And that was a little fun.
How would you fix it? I don't know. I don't know.
How do you fix it? Well, they got to change the interpretation of the language of the rule. And you might have had something with what you're talking about as far as the within your picture, within your frame, within your silhouette. There's an idea there, I think.
I hope so. Anyway.
And if you guys have anything, let us know in the comments. We're happy to read them. And did you agree or disagree with the top 5 worst rules in soccer? Let us know. We'd love to read your comments. When we come back here on Enemies of Fire, we're going to be doing a little stew of everything else. And you better believe that stew is spicy. It's 5 Alarm Chili. It's not stew. I lied to you. It's 5 Alarm Chili.